And let's discuss the dangers of European Muslims joining the Syrian Jihad with Middle East expert Mark Almond. He joins us now live from Oxford. Mr. Almond, welcome to RT. It's good to have you with us. Do you agree those European Muslims who go to fight in Syria, who join jihadists, present a threat to their home countries when they come back? Or we're just exaggerating?
No, I think there is a threat. Obviously, we're talking about a relatively small number of people out of the millions of Muslims who live in the European Union. The problem, however, is that even if 0.1% of people risk being radicalised, and we are talking now of well over 1,000, possibly several thousand people from the European Union countries have either gone to Syria or are involved in the kind of pipeline of radicalisation and supplying people going there. We do have, therefore, a subgroup that is a threat. And we've had actions, violent actions, in France, in Britain and in other countries where this has come to the surface of people who have been radicalised elsewhere, sometimes in Syria, other parts of North Africa, for instance, or in Somalia.
And what do you think prompts those people and young people especially to join the Islamists in Syria? Do they share their political aims of toppling Assad, or is it religious ones? I mean, what actually inspire those teenage girls from Norway to go to war?
Well, I think we have to look at two sort of angles. The one hand is the individuals themselves may have all sorts of frustrations, including, if I may say so, just teenage, adolescent angers and frustrations at being part of a minority in a society that they perhaps don't feel wholly integrated in, that they become in some ways more religious than perhaps their parents were. But also there are people who seek out and recruit them. And I think we do have to accept, particularly in Britain, that we have a paradox or contradictory situation that some of the groups the British government sponsors domestically as what they call counter-radicalisation groups, foundations funded by the taxpayer to, in a sense, calm down the radicals, actually also act as conduits for people going to Libya in 2011, now going to Syria today. So we have to face the problem that to some extent there's an intermixing of the kind of personal, psychological and other reasons why somebody might become very radical with people who are recruiting, grooming and sending on. And some of those people have, I'm afraid, official connections in Britain, in Norway, in France too. Remember, in France there are quite a large number of Maghrebians who speak Arabic with a North African dialect and accent, and who've been used by the French, for instance, part of their army, soldiers in their army, to fight in Libya back in 2011. They wouldn't seem, obviously not North African to many of the Western journalists covering the story if they'd bothered even to ask.
Is there an argument to say the European countries, by openly supporting this Syrian opposition, are unwillingly encouraging their Muslim citizens to join their ranks?
Well, I think there is a risk of this now, perhaps belatedly. We see people like the British Foreign Secretary, William Hague, suddenly noticing that this radicalisation is there. But it has been going on now for almost 3 years, perhaps even before that. One problem, as I say, is the element of collusion. Remember that the intelligence services in countries like Britain and France see their migrant Muslim communities as a pool of potential recruits to provide them with agents, with informers and so on in the wider Middle East, in the world where Muslims live. And so there has been, if you like, a tendency to turn a blind eye to the problem of blowback, as they call it, from Afghanistan. The West has supported radical groups in the past, going back to the 1980s in Afghanistan, overlooking that these groups do have their own agenda. They don't necessarily just want to do what the puppet master has asked them to do, and they suddenly turn and bite the hand. But the hand is not necessarily that of the person who has helped to groom them and send them, but ordinary civilians, ordinary people in the society, whether people shopping in the Westgate Centre in Nairobi a few weeks ago, or walking down the street in Woolwich back in May in this country, for instance.
All right, Professor and a Middle East expert live from Oxford. Professor Almond, thank you very much indeed.